welcome to the 757 Spy Flight on YouTube. I think you know what airplane we're going to be flying today. Hello there, my name is Dave. I do the Spy Flight over on Twitch. I do some cold and dark videos here on YouTube. Just launched flight briefings and morning coffee over on Patreon. Welcome to my channel. Welcome if you are new. Over here on YouTube, this is where I try and do as complete a flight as I possibly can. And today we're going to try and be as complete as we can with this absolutely amazing airplane. This is the Leonardo Maddog, and it is probably one of the hardest airplanes that you can start flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And so by complete cold and dark, that also includes the flight planning process. So we're going to just jump right in today. As far as what we're doing, we are flying the Leonardo MD-82. This is a complete cold and dark flight, including flight planning. The add-ons that I'm using for this video, and I pretty much use, even over on Twitch, Navigraph, SimBrief, and SimToolkit Pro. KEWR, I have Atlanta and Newark KEWR airplanes. Atlanta and Newark are our airports today. And the web tool that I'll use for weather information is the DIST system, which works great in the United States. I wish we had DIST around the rest of the world. So what can you do? First of all, if you've got the Maddog, you want to learn about this thing, stop the video. Load up Flight Simulator. Stop the video, load up Flight Simulator, put your airplane on the ground somewhere at Atlanta. Now realize that departure and arrival runways are very probably going to be different for you because the weather is going to be different for you because this is a recorded video and not live. But other than that, pause and restart the video as you need to as I'm pushing buttons and stuff like that, and just follow along and do the flight as well. As usual for cruise, we're going to pause the video and just kind of cruise on up there and 100 miles before top of descent. That's when you'll restart the video. That's when I'll restart the video and we'll all descend together. I also suggest that after you do a flight like this with me, or really anybody else that you're flying along with here on YouTube, a couple days at the most, do another flight and try and do it out of your hometown airport. Just kind of helps you remember all the cool stuff. And of course, I'll always extend an invitation to join us over on the Spy Flights on Twitch and also the new morning coffee videos that I'm doing on Patreon. Enough yammering. Let's go ahead and let's get ready and let's start doing our flight. And the first thing that I usually do is for a flight like this, we're going to go and do flight planning. I'm using SimToolkit Pro, which works with Navigraph. You could also use Volanta too. We're going to go to the flight planner, and usually what I will do is I will go and get the airplane. So MD-82, and let's see, there it is. It's a Delta. And I'm going to give myself, we're shadowing a real-world flight, by the way. Delta 446 is a Delta flight that goes up to Newark. So that is my call sign. The next number is 446. That's our flight number. The current departure time, it is now, my time is 15:25 Zulu. Let's go ahead and call it 1600 for a departure. We'll see how that works. Okay, after that, this is an old school McDonnell Douglas, so I'm going to switch this to pounds. My flight plan format that I use is the default, which is Lido style. Now, for the flight route today, it's KATL, Atlanta Hartsfield, and then it's KEWR, Newark Liberty. And you can see there's a fair number of Delta flights, including a B712. Okay, that is the Boeing version. It's been updated for the airplane that we usually fly, that this plane is. So when Boeing, McDonnell Douglas and Boeing merged, that's basically, it became the B712. Now, this is the old school. We haven't got any of the updated stuff, but you can see they actually do fly this type aircraft, sort of this type aircraft. Now then, let's go ahead and start figuring out runways and stuff that we're going to be using. And as I said, I really like to use the digital ATIS for a flight here in the U.S. Select a facility, KATL, Atlanta departure ATIS. They are using runways 26 left and 27 right. Now then, so for Atlanta, this is mostly going to be an east departure. So trying to figure out runways and stuff like that, Atlanta has this little thing that they ask you to do, and this is reflects the real world too. So go to the SID page, and I think it is chart 10.3-1. Yeah, it's this thing here. So chances are we're going to get the plumber departure. I think we're going to get plumber is usually what happens, and then you figure out what your runway is going to be. So if we look over here, you can see departure. They're using 26 left, 27 right. Not that one. Let's see this one. So if we're going to be using an east departure, it's 27 right. Would be how we're going to do that. So again, this is something that if you're flying on VATSIM, they're expecting you to take a look at. So 27 right is which we think, and I'm putting these here in my notes here, which I have made a copy of and put in the description so you can cut and paste those into NotePad and use them too. So 27 right is the runway that we think that we're going to get for departure. So I'm going to change my departure runway to 27 right. That just forces the flight planner to do what's going on in the real world, and I kind of like that. Now then, let's go over here and Newark, so that's KEWR, Newark, they are doing ILS 4 right. And this is just simpler, so 04 right. I've gone and I popped these here into my charts, into my notes here, so 4 right. You can't have enough notes, right? So let's also go to 04 right for our arrival. Now, the other thing that I will usually do is if we're flying on VATSIM, I just automatically, no matter what, put in 30 minutes of taxi out time. That's about 15 minutes more than the flight planner will give you by default. If we're in a really big VATSIM event, I'm going to make it like an hour. Okay, just expect delays and stuff like that. It's the way things are. All right, so now let's go ahead and we can generate the flight plan. And so when we do that, that's going to come over here, and SimBrief is going to make the big green line. And there is the big green line, and it's building our maps, and it's almost done. So usually what happens is the next thing that I'm going to go and do is I'm going to go and highlight the flight route, and I'm going to put this over in my notes, and there is our route. Okay, so that's good. We're not flying on VATSIM this time, but I am going to go and I'm going to export the OPF, the Operational Flight Plan, and you can see this is the Lido style, and what I do is I save this to something on my desktop called Active Plan. This is just a PDF, so I don't have to delete a bunch of plans. Just whatever plan I'm flying goes right on my desktop, and it's always right there for me. Okay, if we were on VATSIM, we would pre-file. We don't need to pre-file. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and hit Fly Now. And I'm going to go and look and see, does the airplane appear down here at the departure airport? That's usually a good indicator that the flight tracker is working. Sometimes it's a little dodgy. And I'm going to take this thing, move it over to the right, minimize it, and get it off of that screen. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to come on in here, and we're going to get out of this. We're going to come back over here. I'm going to clear Atlanta out of the search bar. We're going to go one below that to the little airplane, and we're going to import a flight from SimBrief. And there it is, Atlanta to Newark. So you have to hit the download button. This downloads from SimBrief, and it'll put your route right into the brand new Navigraph, which is so cool. Now we're going to go ahead and click the airplane in the tower, and we're going to click Atlanta. And the first thing I'll usually do is you could also use the ATIS right here for Atlanta, or you could go and if we were in Europe and didn't have digital ATIS, we could go and get the METAR just right there. And I will copy that and put this right here in my notes. So I've got the latest METAR right there. Now then, we're going to go over here and let's go to charts, and I'm going to go to taxi. We're going to come down here and we're going to get parking gates. We're going to get the airport info. We're going to go to the SID page. I'm going to get that one page, especially if I'm on VATSIM, just so that I can refer back to the departure runway. And then we're going to go and look and see what we got for our departure. As predicted, it is the Plumber 3 departure. So let's find Plumber 3. There is Plumber. And you see I'm hitting the little tack, and it's building up my stack of charts here down at the bottom. Okay, now we're going to go to Newark. And over on Newark, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just go ahead and grab that METAR, and I'm going to come over here and paste it in here. That way I've got the latest METAR, and it's all ready to go. Very cool. Now then, we'll go to charts, and looking at my flight plan, we're doing the Dillon 4 arrival. So Dillon 4, and we are going to come in on 04 right. We're going to get the ILS chart. If they were landing other runways and it was busy and we were on VATSIM, I would get all of the arrival runway charts and put them in my stack so I'm ready to go. We're going to go here to the taxi chart. We're going to get the airport chart, and I'm going to grab parking gates. I'm going to hide this. And then if you look here in Navigraph, you can see I've got a whole stack of charts here all ready to go. So back in the old days when the pilots were using paper charts and stuff, they would stack them up in the order that they need them. Well, look at this. Our stack down here is in the order that we need it, and that just makes life so much nicer. Okay, so now that we're done with that, the next step in my Maddog process is we got to go and get the flight plan. And to do that, there is the SimBrief downloader. So the SimBrief downloader is something that you can download from SimBrief, and I've already got stuff set up for the Leonardo and the PMDG airplanes, okay? And this is going to get us the Leonardo MD-80 flight plan and the ACARS data. And this is going to go and put this data over in my admin, documents, Maddog X files, and routes. Okay, so it's going to put both of those files in there, and that's something that you can pre-set up, and then once you have it pre-set up, all you do is click it. Now, I just every airplane that I'm flying, so I'm not turning it on and off, it just downloads it all. And we're done. We're done. That's it. It's ready to go with that. Next step in the process, we're not even out at the airplane yet. Let's go to Fly the Maddog application. When you got your Maddog, you should have gotten a little app, and it should have put it on your desktop. So here is our little app. I'm going to have measurements for the load manager is in pounds. Panel state, leave it alone. I've turned off the avatars, and now we're going to come here and click pounds. We are flying November 5, the Delta, and now we got to go and import the OPF. And if you look, you can come in here and see the OPF. It's I've got the set so the latest flight plan is always at the top, Atlanta to Newark. So that's what we've got, Atlanta to Newark. I thought I deleted all these. Oh, I guess not. Okay, so Atlanta to EWR, open it. And all this went and did is it got a bunch of stuff. Now then, it's made us a little bit heavy here. So we are a little heavy in terms of cargo in the aft. So we're a little heavy there. So what I'm going to do is let's go and I'm going to drop this down. Let's go 2,000 up front. We're going to kick some people's bags out. And 2,000 over here. Let's see how that does it. Okay, still shows us a little heavy in the back of the airplane. Let's kick a few passengers off. We're going to go 75. 75. Oh, look at that. Now all of a sudden we're in the little envelope there. So 75 passengers in both the areas and 2,000 pounds of bags. That's kind of the way it is that I just go ahead and do that. Might not be the right way, but this is the way that I basically get the job done. Okay, next thing to do is over here there is a check mark. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over to the other monitor because when you click the check mark, it also closes the app. And if I need this application, I want to go and have it pop up over on the other monitor. So that's why you're not going to see me do the check mark. So I'm going to slide it off over there, click the check mark, and that loads that data in. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and when you installed this, it also put a folder on your desktop and it's right here. I'm going to go and I'm going to get the normal checklist. Okay, and that's all I was going to do. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is here we go. There's our normal checklist. And then I'm going to go to active flight plan, that PDF that I downloaded. And you can see this is our active flight plan for our trip up to Newark. All right, so here's our checklist, and I'm going to try and follow this. And this is actually the first time that I've actually done this kind of checklist here. So we have cockpit crew checklist, flight recorders, ARS alignment. We're not going to do all of the alignment things, but I'm going to try and go through this. So this is a little bit of a learning thing for me too. There's the taxi checklist, APU air switches off, trip ART. Oh, that's the ART switch. That's right. You turn that off. V-speed bugs. So we're going to try and use this one today, okay? The last little thing that I'm going to do, and I know I said this, we were almost to the last. I forgot one more thing. We're going to go and get something called Pushback Helper. So Pushback Helper is a little app. It's free. You can get it at flightsim.to. And this is what I use to operate my tugs and my jetways at airports, in airplanes where I can't do that through the FMC or an iPad or something. You know, you can do all that in the FMC in the PMDG 737. So if I have to do that, so what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and click the jetway button. And we'll slide this over here off to the side. And if you look around, and as we look around over here, and we kind of come around, you can see the jetway is open, and if you go in close enough, you can see it may have also opened the door. I don't know if it actually opened my door or not. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Let's see. We've got that view, that view. I don't think I have a door view right now, but let's go ahead and climb in the cockpit. So, you know, we've preserved our immersion here, and we've climbed in the cockpit through the jetway. Now, the next thing that I usually do is I go and, because sometimes USB controllers disconnect, I'm going to go and I'm going to move my controls. And I'm just going to make sure that everything works, just to make sure. And you can see I'm getting a little bit of noise in my nose wheel tiller. That's one of the weaknesses with the unfortunately the Thrustmaster stuff, is the twist stick gets dirty, and there's not too many things you can do about it. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and just move my speed brake, make sure that works. I'm going to move my throttles a bit, make sure that those work. And that's really all I'm going to do here. All of that is pretty much set and done. And now we're ready to go ahead and start doing pilot things as opposed to computer things. And to start off, you're going to go over here and grab the, iPad. And we're going to you have to hold this button to start it. So click the button here and hold it until you see the Maddog logo, and then it will turn itself on. And this livery actually even puts a Delta logo in there, which I think is kind of cool. Click Electronic Flight Folder, and this should go. And if you do SimBrief OPF, this should go and get our SimBrief operational flight plan. Hartsfield to Newark Liberty. Yay! The next thing we're going to do is let's go over here and go to Aircraft Services. The forward main door is indeed open. I usually also will open my forward, mid, and aft cargo just for immersion. Don't have to. And I'm going to go to ground. And unfortunately, the ground is right by where you click this. I had to move my view around a bit. And I'm going to go ahead and attach a ground power unit and the AC unit. Okay, now then, we're going to come over here to weight and balance. And chances are our weight and balance isn't the same. So do you remember those numbers? I'm going to go ahead, and it was 75, 75, and then for cargo, 2,000 and 2,000. And that should have us all ready to go. It could be, well, my takeoff weight CG is pink, so it could be that that's a problem there. I don't know how to fix that at the moment, so I'm not going to try. But as long as there's no red, it could be that what I just need to do is the takeoff weight. I need to move things a little bit forward, but I need to learn how to do that. But those are all of our weights, and those things are all set in the airplane now. So that's pretty good. And now it's time for us to go and start doing what we're really here to do, and that is start to flip switches in the airplane. Okay, and to do that, the first thing that we have to do is do the on switch. And the thing with these all airplanes is it's the battery button. And the battery switch is right down there in the middle. And so we're going to click it once, and then click it again, and turn it. So I clicked it once to turn it on, and then I turned it to the right. And that locks it. That way you can't turn it off in flight. Okay, so now that we've done that, we do have ground power plugged in, and this is going to be our first introduction and check-in with Betty.
Autopilot.
Yay, we've got Betty, the official voice of the McDonnell Douglas. Let's do it again.
Autopilot.
Hey, there we go. So Betty is officially with us. The next thing that I usually do is come over to the co-pilot side, and we're going to come over here and we're going to turn on our position lights. So that way the position lights are popped up there. And you can see the airplane is slowly powering itself up, which is pretty cool. Very nice airplane. Now then, one of the things that I like to do is I kind of like to go and I generally like to backlight things. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to turn up this panel light here, and I'm going to turn that up, just so that it makes things look a little bit better. So we've got the backlighting done. Now that we've backlit this one, I'll go down to the pedestal, and we're going to do the same thing here on the pedestal. I'm just going to turn up the panel backlighting. Make stuff easier to see. Okay, and then we'll come over here really, really close, and we can look down here, and I'm going to do the pilot's panel. You could also do the co-pilot's panel. If the digital stuff is a little bit too much, you could turn down the digital indicators. You also can turn on the floodlights too. I don't think we need to do floodlights and stuff. So all of this is looking pretty good. Other stuff that we could do, we could also turn on the APU right now. So for the APU, I think I've been doing this wrong. I think you're supposed to do the right side for the APU. So we'll do starter pump goes on. The right side, one pump, I believe, is all you need. And we'll come and hit the master switch to run. And then what I do is I turn it on, and I'm using the thumb wheel to turn these switches on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back off. And then you'll see up here, you can see that the percent RPM is going up. The exhaust gas temperature, EGT, is going up too. And if you come outside behind the airplane, you will even hear the APU starting up. And there comes our APU starting up like a pro. One of the things that you're going to notice about this airplane is it is incredibly quiet up in the flight deck. And you're saying, what's wrong with this airplane? There's nothing wrong with your airplane. These big old engines are way in the back of the airplane here. So it's noisy in the back of the plane, but very quiet up front for the pilots, which is one of the reasons that the pilots say that they really liked the Mad Dog. It was a very quiet ride for them. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do the master caution up here. There are a number of checks and things that you can set up on this airplane. I'm really not doing much with the checks on these yet. I still have a lot to learn. But what we can do is turn on the APU air, and we're going to turn the air conditioning to auto. And then to actually get it working, you need to come down here and do the crossbleed system. And once the crossbleed system comes in, we should start to get air conditioning throughout the airplane and make it nice and comfy for passengers. If it's nighttime and you would like, you can come over here. The logo light switch is over here. There is also a cockpit floodlight switch over here too. Lighting is all over the place on this airplane. There is no rhyme or reason for it. Surrender any thought of any kind of understanding of lighting. I'm going to go ahead. We've got two knobs underneath here. I'm going to backlight everything here on the mode control panel. And all of this is now looking pretty good. So as we look up here, I've got APU air. APU is up. And you can see the air conditioning now is coming on too. So it's comfy in the cabin for the passengers. The one thing that I also need to turn on is the galley power. Otherwise, we won't have coffee. and that can be a serious problem with this airplane. Okay, with all of that done, the next step in our process is we're going to go ahead and use the airplane's ACARS system. This is something that I'm was really surprised about. I wasn't expecting a great ACARS system in this airplane, but holy cats, is it pretty cool. So hit menu, ACARS. Now there's a CPDLC system in here. I haven't even had a chance to look at it. That's going to be really cool to check out. But right now we're going to go Air Operations Standard. And from here we're going to do a pre-flight. And we're going to init data. And we have to init data request. Sorry about that. It's time for coffee. So while we're getting the flight plan, flight 446, Atlanta to Newark. It's going to be an hour and 44-minute flight. And so that's good. That's great. Let's go ahead and return. Now then, the next thing we need to do is our weight and balance. Think of this as putting in your fuel order to get the fuel truck out. And for this, you're going to need your active flight plan. You can read it over on the electronic flight bag, or you could read it here. And we're going to need trip fuel, we're going to need taxi fuel, and we're going to need block fuel. So trip fuel is 11.5. So, or actually, it's the whole number, not points. So 11531. 11531. Taxi fuel is 1200. It's a little bit more than normal because remember I boarded 30 minutes of taxi time, not just the default 15. And then block fuel is 22221. 22221. 22211. And pop that in and then hit send. And that's our fuel order. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to request the flight plan. So all you do is click it, and the star goes out. And when the star returns, then that should take care of everything else. We can return from here, and now we're going to go to received messages. Did you hear the little bell? So the bell is this little guy up here, and that bell goes off when either the flight attendant is calling you or you got an ACARS message, and you just click the button, that resets the light, and what that is that popped in this crew message right here. And our crew message tells us this is our preliminary weight and balance. So our zero fuel weight is 170. Oh, we got a new one. Well, we were trying to read the crew message, and so this gives us center of fuel and takeoff center of gravity and everything. But the next thing we can do is look up here at the flight plan. Delta 446, Atlanta to Newark, and MD83, blah, blah, blah. Ooh, takeoff weight, block fuel, 22.2, winds, all sorts of great information is in this that we can use. So there's zero fuel weight, outside air temperature at top of climb. This is all the stuff that we need to put into the airplane here. But at this point in time, all of this is pretty good. Let's go and get out of this, and we're going to go to Aircraft Services. And we're going to go ahead and start boarding. Got 150 passengers coming aboard, and we are starting to board our 150 passengers right now. While that's going on, we can come over here to the pilot side. And from the pilot side, we're going to hit Position Init. And we're going to put in KATL. KATL. I'm not spelling it out for you. I'm spelling it out for me. Okay, we do know that we are at gate Bravo 24. So the real airplane's at Bravo 24. Some airports know what your gate is, some don't. In this case, it says it's not in the database. That's no big deal. Just clear it, take your GPS position, put it in the scratch pad, and then put it in there, and that's all you've got to do. Really nice and done. Okay, now we can go to our route page. If you use the downloader, you can go in and type in your departure airport, KATL. We're going to Newark, KEWR. Put that in company route, and it will go and download your route for you. And that's just really, really cool. So you could compare it. It's Berg, the Q22 to Barry. After Barry, it's direct FAC, and after FAC, it's the star. So everything is good. It's great. So let's go ahead and activate this. and execute. Activate and execute you need to do on this one. So from here, you could put your runway in over here if you know what your departure runway is, or you could put it in here into departure and arrival. Either or. I don't know that makes much of a difference. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to go and do 27 right. So next page, 27 right. Okay, and we also know that we're doing the plumber departure. So next page, there's pencil, and there is plumber. And then our transition is Berg. It says so right in the flight plan. That's all we got to do is execute that. Now we can come back to the index page. If you know what your runway is, now I always think that this is a little bit off. So I don't know that they actually put in runways before departure or not in the real world. I think if they do know, maybe they have to do that. The thing is some airplanes in Flight Simulator need you to put that information in. So I put it in anyway. We can always change it in flight, but there you go. So we're doing the ILS for 4 right. We are doing the Dillon arrival, Dillon 4. We are coming in via FAC. And Kilma is going to probably be our transition. I know that just because that's what we have done before. If you don't know, this is why you get your stack of charts. So here is the Dillon arrival coming in via FAC or Flat Rock. Okay, and then as we come on up here, there's Yardley, there's Mercer, there's Metro, there's the airport up there. At Dillon, we have to be at 8,000 feet, then look at the ILS. Over here on the ILS, it doesn't actually have the exit of the star for us, which is Metro, but it does have Kilma, which we did select and takes us into the runway. So we're good to go with that. I'm also going to go over here and leave this up here because we have to note our arrival elevation, which is 17 feet, because we have to set the arrival elevation. But all of this basically tells you that this is good. Be sure and hit your execute button. Now we're going to go to legs and do a quick verification. After takeoff, it'll be RNAV to football, Zell, Golf, Plumber, Tensberg, Mashy, Kiddo, Omens, Barry, Fack, Ott, Fuber, Steffi, Sumto, there's Dillon, there's Mercer. Now there's Metro. After Metro, we can then do Kilma and put that in there to close the discontinuity for the moment. And then now we've got a complete flight. Now, not every flight is going to be nice and neat and you can close all your discontinuities, you know, but this one should work just fine for us. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. Let's go back to the route page. And how's our passengers doing? 85 of our 150 passengers are boarding right now. So the next thing that we could do is we can go and do the performance init. And for this, I'm going to need both of these up for this one. Now, you could also do this with your flight plan. Okay, you could also have your flight plan open. I think it's kind of cool that we get this this information over here. So let's go ahead and do performance init. Cruise altitude. Okay, cruise altitude. Up there it is, over there, flight level 350. 350. There's our cruise altitude. Cruise winds. Winds 298 at 56. And if you want to verify, look at your flight plan, 298 at 56. It's right in there. So we can go 298 at 56 knots. And that goes in there. So this is really, I'm super impressed with this. Let's see, you can either do ISA deviation or top of climb outside air temperature. I usually go and get the top of climb outside air temperature, which is minus 55 degrees. And you can just pop that in there, and that's going to give you your deviation. And I'm not feeling too terribly deviant right now. And there is your first bad joke. Okay, reserves. Reserves are right here, 7.8, 7.8. And if you go and you look in at your flight plan, what's your reserves? Well, look over here at the bottom. See where it says FinRes and Alton? That stands for Final Reserve Fuel and Alternate Fuel, which is what you need to have in the tanks when you touch down unless you deviate from your flight path at all. So our final reserve and our alternate fuel, you add all of those numbers up, and that should be 7,819 pounds. So that's how we get 7.8. Okay, let's see. So that's good to go there. Our zero fuel weight is 114.9. 114.9. And that goes in zero fuel weight. Fuel schedule, this is going to be block fuel. All right, so let's see. That's probably on page 1. BLK 22.2. 22.2. And now is a great time to come up here and look at your total fuel here and make sure it's close. Okay, that way you know that you boarded the right amount of fuel. Sometimes it doesn't happen because you forgot something and you get on across the pond and, we've run out of fuel. Okay, the next thing you have to do in this airplane is you have to do the slash, and then you have to do N for normal, because this isn't just fuel, it's also the burn schedule. And we're going to be normal, so normal. Max altitude is flight level 333. I don't worry about this because we're going to burn fuel to get up to flight level 350, so I'm not going to lose sleep over that one. Okay, so all of this is looking good. And the passengers are still boarding. We've still got a few. I am out of coffee right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to hit pause on my video, go get some coffee because I'm almost out and things are going to get interesting again. So give me just a second and I'll be right back. And we are back with a fresh cup of coffee, which is certainly nice for sure. But we are also, there was a real big departure delay here at Spy HQ. The phone rang. So I haven't changed anything except for getting coffee, and then the phone rang, and we've been burning some fuel here. So this gives me a bit of an opportunity to yammer on and on about a little thing called takeoff fuel. And that's going to be this little number right here in your flight plan. And you can see that the takeoff fuel says 21011. Okay, so let's come on down here and look at our fuel. We are at 21,900. So I've been sitting here with the APU on all this time. So that's if you have a big departure delay, you need to go and look down at your fuel gauge and say, do I have enough fuel to do this? And we did have a pretty big departure delay. So there we go. And let's see, we did also in the middle of all of this get a final load sheet. So the final load sheet data is in here. And that means we can now go ahead and get ready to go and do our takeoff data. So over here on the takeoff page, we've got a little bit of information here and some V-speeds, but we're going to need the final load sheet, and we're going to need a couple of numbers, including, and you see it says TOF, takeoff fuel, 21.011, 21,900. It puts it right there for you. So let's go over here to page 2, and page 2 gives us the TOW, the tow, the takeoff weight, which is 138,295. So what we need to do is come over here, and we're going to do the performance page. And the first thing I'm going to do is put that takeoff weight in there, and I can't remember. TOW 138,295. 138,295. 138,295 and enter. All right. Now, because it's been so long, there's probably also a new weather. So KATL, Atlanta Hartsfield, departure, it's now information Quebec. So I'm going to go and do what I usually do. I'm going to copy that information, and we're going to go ahead and put it over here. What was our last info? We didn't do it that way. So the last time we got one was at 1452 Zulu. The new one is at 1552. So this is a whole new METAR. So we've got our new weather information. Are we still landing and departing on our runways? Yep, we're still on the 26s, so we're still good there. So we can take that METAR and put that in here. So we're going to go to airport, KATL, Atlanta, enter. It's dry here in Atlanta today. The winds in Atlanta are 200 at 6. 200 at 06. Enter. The outside air temperature in Atlanta is 12 degrees. So 12 degrees. Enter. We are going to be taking off on runway 27 right. So we got to go and click this to 27 right. There's 27 right. We want this to compute for optimum flaps. The altimeter here in beautiful Hotlanta is 3012. 3012. And enter. I'm going to have anti-ice off. I'm going to have my packs on. Let's calculate and see what we got. And we have takeoff speeds. So first of all, it gives our flap setting of 3.5. So we get to come over here to dial a flap, and we're going to dial our flap setting in to 3.5. So there is 3, and there is 3.5. So dial a flap is set. We're also going to do a select temperature, also known as a D rate. In Airbus language, that's flex. And we are going to 50 degrees. So we come over here and we go takeoff flex and we dial in 50 degrees. This is also a point in time where I like to come up here and I hit my EP limit button. Otherwise I forget. Okay, and after that it's 146 and 151. So 146, enter. 151, enter. And then we're going to look up here, and then 146, 160. And I'm going to put that up here, and I'm going to add 10 to it. I'm going to make it 170. It's an old airplane, and the older the airplane, I like to add a little bit of speed there to my takeoff speed, and then we'll put down here. Now, every video that I see about this airplane says that these numbers are meaningless other than just putting them in here. But what you can do is once you've started to put information in here, once you click the bugs, that will go and get your takeoff speeds for you. And so all of those are set. Our altimeter setting is 3012, so we need to set the baro. So 3012. And whenever you start clicking, it always takes more. And then I'm going to be a good pilot and 3012 on my backup altimeter too. Okay, 3012, and that's looking good too. We can also go and do a few things over here. We can come up here and we can set our departure heading. And our departure heading is going to be here on Atlanta, runway 27 right is going to be 275 degrees. So 275 degrees, and it's the outer knob. Don't the inner knob here, the long one. That's your bank select limiter. So 275. 275. 275. Come on. There we go. Now then, the other thing to do is come over here, and we're going to look at the plumber departure, and we want to see, do we have a top altitude? It is 10,000 feet on plumber, and so we'll go ahead and dial in 10,000 feet. And then you press it, and that arms it. We're also going to turn on our flight directors now. Flight directors are on. I've hit my EPR limit button, and so everything's kind of coming together up here. We've got a few nice little things that have happened up here. We have the APU on, so it's about time to start getting ready to get out of here, finally. So I want to be a good pilot today, and I want to start using the checklist here. Flight recorder, we didn't do that one. AHRS alignment is done. FMSGP is checked. Emergency lights are not armed. Now, I've always thought that you need to do your emergency lights after you close the doors, but apparently not, and I've been wrong with that. So I've also left my starter pump on. I hope I'm not going to burn that out. Passengers are aboard, so seatbelts are going to go on too. And let's continue. So emergency lights are on, cabin signs are good. Windshield anti-ice switch is on. This is something that I've been forgetting too. So the windshield anti-ice is over here. Windshield anti-ice is on. Let's see. Engine sync selector is off. I don't know about that one. Whoops, I got to learn that. Stall warning, that's one of the tests. Air conditioner shutoff switch is auto. Fire protection tests are done. Fuel quantity is verified. Altimeters are set. Fuel shutoff levers are off. Cabin pressurization lever is set to auto. If you want to know where that is, that's this big yellow thing down here. Okay, and that's this thing here, and apparently right here in the middle is auto. So there's our cabin pressurization taken care of. And that check is now pretty much done. So we're ready to push and start here. Let's come on over here, and we can go to aircraft services. Oh, they've already closed the door. So now that the door is closed, I'm going to get Mr. Pushback Helper here. So we got Pushback Helper. And we're going to go ahead and hit jetway. It says the main door is open. My main door, I think, is closed. So let's see if it gets ready. There goes my jetway. And it's closed the main door. Let's also go ahead and I'm going to connect my tug right now. So here comes the tug. And all of that's good to go. Final checks in here. We're not on VATSIM, but I usually like to squawk mode Charlie on the taxiway just so I never forget. So 2000 and transponder. So that's good to go. Everything's nice up here. Let's also come up here and we're going to trip in the APU system. So the APU is now taking care of the power. Also on this thing, after you do that, be sure you turn off the external power before you unplug it. Apparently, that makes the airplane cranky. Okay, so we can come to ground, and we're done with the AC, and we're done with the ground power unit. So we can disconnect both of those, and everything's looking pretty good here. I did not set the cabin pressurization for landing. So that's over here, and we go to our charts. And over on our chart, here is, it's 17 feet. And so if you look in tight here, so there is 20. That's about as close as we're going to get. The other thing that you're apparently supposed to do is go and get the altimeter setting. So the newest altimeter that we can get for Newark, KEWR, the altimeter is 2988 in Newark. So 2988. There's 299. There's 2988. Now then, the other thing that I think I've seen people do is you flip the standby switch, click it, go back to primary and click it, and that turns those lights out. Up here, ACARs and attendants are done with us. So all of that's good. Now, at this point in time, I usually come over here, and we're going to go ahead. Parking brakes are on. Anti-collision lights are going on. So anti-collision lights is kind of an important thing with the Leonardo, because if you look, you can see the chocks are now gone. The chocks are connected to your anti-collision light. So if you can't get the chocks out of the way, that's the reason why. Okay, seatbelts, everything's good. We've disconnected ground power. Passengers are in their seats. I think we're ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and let's lock the door. So we're going to hit, you go to deny. And so that locks your door. And that also was going to cut down the sound of your passengers. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and do a push. After our push, we're going to go nose to the right. Okay? So we'll come on out here. Actually, we got to do parking brakes. So parking brakes are off. And then we can go and get tool pushback helper and reverse. And out we go. How about that? We finally made it out of the gate here. As soon as we push back just a little bit more, again, we're going to want to be nose south. So we're going to go ahead and steer to the left. This does not turn on a dime with your pushback cart. So it definitely does not turn on a dime here at all. So you can see I started swinging the nose out early. And then I'll go and basically go with left and right here. Straighten it out a little more. Left over there. Now this is a traffic line, a ground traffic line here. So what I'm going to do is push my nose back beyond that ground traffic line. And again, I'm still just kind of gently turning. I want to try and put my nose on the taxi line here. And that's pretty good. Now we'll swing the nose out a little bit more. And that's going to put us right on that line there. How about that? Straighten it out a little bit and stop. Come back into the cockpit. Parking brakes on. And then what we'll do is hit the tug button. Slide this out of the way. And hit X. And we are done. And that hit X, that was me basically turning off pushback helper. Before start checklist, parking brakes are set. EFB, electronic flight bag is set to flight mode. I don't know about flight mode. Pneumatic pressure. We measure pneumatic pressure here, and there isn't an awful lot of it right now. So what we have to do is we have to slide over here and turn off the air conditioning. And I forget exactly what it is, but you can see now all of a sudden we've got a bunch more pneumatic pressure. So we're good to go there. Engine starter, we're going to use starter system A. So starter system A. Tanks, we also have fuel in the forward and the center tanks. So our fuel pumps are on. Anti-collision lights are on. APU normal. Econ switch is set to normal. So we're normal today. Let's see, where was that? APU, air conditioning supply is off. Pneumatic crossfeed levers are open. Thrust levers are idle. That is our before start checklist. And it is now time for us to start engines. So we're ready to go with that. We're going to go ahead and clear these two guys open. And the best way that I've found is, so you know how in your mouse you've got the little nose wheel, the little thumb wheel? That's the best way to do the switches with this. So thumb wheel switch down on the right engine. And then if we look down here, you can see the N2, which is the one on the bottom. This is starting to go up. You might see a little bit of N1 going up. And we're looking for 20%. And the fuel tanks, the fuel shutoff switches, that's also something, by the way, that I use the mouse thumb wheel to turn on. So that seems to work there. Now, as this is powering up here, the real pilots are going to take a look at oil temperature, oil pressure, oil quantity. Make sure that they are going up, that your oil quantity doesn't go down. That's going to indicate the oil quantity going down. That indicates you've got an oil leak and you've got trouble. Did you hear the click and the flash? So the click and the flash is generator switch, and we have a nice stable start. So all of that looks good. We can go up here. Now I go and this is we're gonna flip the switch up and guard it. Now we're gonna start engine number 1. So flip the switch down. Again, I don't know how long you're supposed to hold that switch, but I usually wait and get the engine up and running, and then I stop it. So N2, 20% down there on the bottom. 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And then roll that thing up there with the mouse, and that seems to take care of it. And we get a good start on engine number 2. Now, you're sitting in here and you're thinking, man, this is quiet. I don't hear jets. Oh, yes, there's jets here. It's loud out here, but it's all the way at the back of the plane. You just don't hear it up here at all, which is a little weird. All right, so you just saw that flash. So generator switch is good. And you can see that we've got a good start on engine number 2. So we're going to come up here, and we're going to roll that switch back up and guard it. We are going to go engine off. the starter system, ignition system. We're going to go and turn off that starter pump. So the starter pump is off too. We'll look over here, and we're in Atlanta. So I'm going to go and put my air conditioning system back to auto. We also do not need the APU air anymore, so we're going to turn that off. We can come over here, and the generators, we saw the switch over, so we can go ahead and turn off the APU. If you're worried about your generators, let's see here. There's got to be, there's going to be AC on our generators. So there's generators there. So we could have checked those too. And then with that, we can go and turn the master switch off on the APU, and that's good. And everything looks wonderful, I hope. Okay, so from here, we'll do the after start checklist. Engine ignition switch is off. Pitot and static heaters are go on. So this is something I learned. So if you look up here, I think we'll see it better if we go up like this. So here it all is. So here is the heater circuit. All you have to do is right now the ice protection is on. Now all of them, the captain, the auxiliary, the first officer, all of those are on. All these switches do here is just change the meter. So we've turned them on. All we have to do is turn it on. So it doesn't matter. You're not just heating the captain's side. Everything is on. This is just how it is that we monitor that. Okay? Airfoil and engines. Anti-ice switches, not needed. Air conditioning system is auto. Door cue light. So I believe what you do is, I believe one of these is the door. And I think there it is. All doors are closed. So we've hit the door cue light, and it automatically turns itself off. So the doors are closed. The hydraulic systems are checked and set. I think the hydraulics are good. I may be wrong. I'm still 100%, not 100% sure. So auxiliary and trans pumps are on. But I think that's only for with the engines off. I don't think we need them now. So I've still got to learn about those. Hydraulics good. After start checks are complete. A taxi check. So our taxi checklist is next. APU switch is off. TRP, the ART switch. Okay, I'm still learning about ART. The ART switch is this. I think it says for auto reverse thrust or something, and you're supposed to turn this off for takeoff. So ART is now off. V-speed bugs are over here and set. Flight instruments set. GPS is good. Flaps and slats. So apparently there's 3 settings to get into the flap selector here. So we're going to go flaps 1, and you do that first. And that's going to go, and I believe what this does is this is dropping these down. So there's our slats. And so there's our slats and stuff. So those are good to go there. But then the next thing is I then thought you do 1 click. Well, the airplane yells at me an awful lot. You actually need to do 2 clicks to get into the flap takeoff selector zone. And it says 11. Our flaps were supposed to be 3.5. Well, maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe I'm wrong. That looks like it's flaps 3.5 to me. So maybe I was wrong about that. I thought I had read that this was supposed to be somewhere in here. Okay, next thing for us to do, and this is new for me, go to performance. Nope, it's not over here. Maybe it's going to be in here. So trim for takeoff. So there's flaps 2.5. The center of gravity is at 14. And I believe we're going to get that over here. Do we have a center of gravity? Mach 0 fuel weight says 10.3. This is new for me, so I'm going to have to learn about that. I don't think I've got this set correctly. Sorry about the sniff. Still dealing with a cold. I'm going to go and acknowledge this through the system, so that's good to go. The thing is we've got center of gravity is set. Is that over here by any chance? Select temperature, maximum takeoff. Nope, it's not in there. I wonder if this is something I need to set. This could be something that I have not set right, and that's going to be the max zero fuel weight. It says Mach takeoff. Mach mean aerodynamic chord, that's weight and balance. It says 14.2. Well, that looks like it's automatically set itself to 14.2. I think it set itself automatically. The thing we've got to do is you've got to move your this gray thing using your trim switch, and you can also, use the handle. I've got this remoted. We want this to match up with that, and that's trim for takeoff. So that's that one there. So that's, again, I don't think I'm doing that right. Next thing to do is we come down here, and that gets set to takeoff, and we'll turn that switch on. And if your flaps are set, the switch should be good. I think we're also done with the cross bleeds. Flaps and slats, auto brakes and auto spoiler. Stabilizer trim is 0. So here are our trims are set to 0. Takeoff briefing has been really badly done, and the cabin is secured. It is finally time to go and do a taxi. How about that? Who would have thought? So make sure if you got a gaming chair, make sure that your gaming chair is locked in, especially if you got rudder pedals. Otherwise, you're going to tip back over when you do rudder pedals, and that looks pretty ridiculous. Come on down here. Parking brake is off. Toe brakes are on. I'm going to do the nose light to dim. Hands on the throttle. Let's see if we can taxi to our runway. So with this airplane, you're probably going to have to increase the throttles just a little bit to get going. And then once you get going, this thing does pick up speed. Pretty good. I have neglected to release the backup artificial horizon. Now, there are some people that do this before engine start. I always thought that you were supposed to wait until after you started your engines before you did that. And there we are, we're taxiing. Brake check. Hey, brakes work. So that's a good thing to do, especially if you're making changes to your controller settings. One of the things that I'm working on right now is slowly going over to using the SPAD.NEXT system for radios and controllers, because I've gotten sick and tired, like you probably have, of always having to change things in Microsoft Flight Simulator control binding settings based on your airplane. Well, if you're using SPAD.NEXT, and once you get it registered, boy, life is great. Then with all of your sims, I've really kind of found so that SPAD's really pretty cool. Thing is some of I haven't done a really good job of all those settings, and I've actually taken off on a taxiway, and I start to do my toe brakes, and the airplane just keeps going and going and going. And so I'm like, oh, I forgot to set up the toe brakes on this airplane. So that's kind of a surprise when you keep going and going and going like this, and you push your brakes and the airplane doesn't stop. Especially if you're on VATSIM. Boy, that becomes entertaining too. See, we can come over here and we can do our speed brake check. There goes our speed brakes. Always like to go and lift the speed brakes up, check those. So we've got that one. We can also arm the speed brakes now for takeoff. And now it's just a matter of taxi on out. And welcome to Lima Charlie. This is one of those places that you'll probably get directed to when you're doing a takeoff over here. You have Lima Alpha, Lima Bravo, Lima Charlie. ATC on VATSIM will actually tell you which one of those to go to so that they can space you out. So if they've got a bunch of departures going to Dulles, but there's somebody that's not a part of a VATSIM event or something, they may move you over to one of the others so that they can take you off a little bit faster because, you know, separation of everybody going into the same airport. So here we are at Lima Charlie, all ready to go here. Let us go and do the before takeoff checklist. Takeoff runway is been verified. Takeoff data is confirmed. Fuel balance. So this is a thing. And if we look over here, you can see 9289. That doesn't look so great to me. So I don't think we're too terribly well balanced here. I think that we could probably come over here. And I guess there's fuel tanks. There are cross feeds somewhere in here, but I got no idea where. No clue. So I've got to learn how to balance out my fuel. So we're going to be slightly unbalanced today, which is normal. Anyhow, look down here. Brake temperature is down here. So you want to do your brake temperature. Looks like we are at about, all of the brakes are what, a little bit below. So I guess they're 50 degrees. If it's 100, there's 100, 2, 3, 4, 500 degrees, and it gets too hot over here. And there's the overheat light. So brake temperatures are good. We don't have a brake temperature problem. Engine ignition selector goes to both for takeoff. That's this guy right here. Both for takeoff. And then the EOAP, EOP. No clue. I got to learn. Okay, so I think we're ready to go. Shall we depart the scene of the crime? So that's our before takeoff checklist. At this point in time, when I get cleared onto a runway or to cross runways and stuff, that's usually when I will go and turn on strobes. So strobes are going on. That's also if I've got some sort of a landing light system that has to be lowered out of an airplane, that's when I'm going to go ahead and lower those down. I'm not going to turn them on. So let's say that we're at another airport and there's an airplane, I'm pointing like you can see it, right across the way. We turn on our landing lights right now. We're going to blind that other pilot or something. So you don't want to turn on your real high intensity stuff until you're lined up on the runway. Now, we're obviously not going to blind anybody over there, but I try and remain consistent and not, do things until it's time to do it. So if I think, it's okay to turn on the lights here in Atlanta and blind the squirrels over there, that's great. But over at, say, another airport, I won't be blinding squirrels, I'll be blinding another pilot. So anyhow, that's why I do the lights the way I do them. Now then, one of the things that I've found about this airplane is if you are going to be doing a flex takeoff, it needs all the freaking runway. So you can see that's why it is that I'm doing line up like this and doing the sharp right turn, because I want all the runway I can get for my flex takeoff. Last step is what I call the magic black button here. So the magic black button is right down here, and that's this one right here. All you need to do is hit one of them, and you can see it's going to take off. So we're in takeoff mode. We ready to go? Landing lights on. Landing lights are on. Flight directors are good. At this point, I'm usually going to run my throttles up to about 30%. This may be an Airbusism, but I like to go and see, rev them up a little bit. Are they stable? After that, that's good. Now we're going to get the EPR up to 1.8. And as the engines come up, we should, there's 1.4, 5, 6, 7. There is coming up on 1.8. And then I'm going to hit my auto throttle button. And I was too busy looking at that. It says clamp. So I'm going to guess that means the auto throttle has clamped onto something and life is good. And airspeed's alive. There's 100 knots. I need a little right rudder today. 120 knots. So definitely a little right rudder on this one. 140, that's V1. Hands off the throttles. We're flying now. And rotate. And as you see, we used a lot of runway there. Positive rate of climb, landing gear. And I'm flying those flight directors. There's gear up. And we are going direct to... We're going direct to football. Oh, and by the way, when you are doing a VATSIM event here in Atlanta and some other airports, when they give you the clearance to take off and they say direct football, or RNAV football is what they're saying, they want you to say it back. They want you to say that back to them. That way it confirms to them that you know that you're going to that checkpoint in the sky. So there's our turn. There's our nav football. I'm going to go ahead and get my heading going to football. There's football. That looks pretty good. We've still got a little bit of wind blowing us off to the side. Our speed's pretty good too. Now we can come over here, and I'm going to go ahead and let's hit nav. I'm also going to go VNav, and let's see if the autopilot's ready for us. There's the autopilot. We're still going to football, and I can take my hands off the stick. The airplane's apparently, the autopilot's got us. Speed's coming up. How about a notch of flaps? There's one notch of flaps as our speed goes up. And we are climbing to 10,000 feet. ATC just called. Climb maintain 17,000. Make sure you hit the button that arms it for you. And again, it's so quiet in this airplane. It's really weird. Passing 5,000 feet. But our speed is still kind of coming up there. You can see it's still going up, so that's good news. Come on back here. Flaps are going up. You can watch your leading edge slats go up. Here comes our turn at football. We're done turning at foot. Now we're kind of making the turn here. Nav is armed. I don't know. Nav is yellow. I don't know that Nav is got us. It's yellow, and that doesn't seem good to me. VNav seems to be behaving. Speed's coming up to 250 knots. Flaps are up. Disarm those speed brakes. I'm going to come down here. We're going to do the auto brakes. And around we go to Zale. I'm going to set my heading over to Zale. Again, nav is still yellow. I think I screwed up something there. It's yellow here, but it's not yellow up there. So I'm not going to panic yet. And our speed is right on at 250. I chose 17,000 feet because usually 17,000 feet is what we get after they kick us over to departure. Okay, we're doing pretty good on RNAV to Zale. Let's go ahead and I'm going to make the map a little bit bigger now. And let's come on over here. I usually will go to menu here. And I'm going to go over and do progress on this one. And I do climb on this one. Yep, it's got us here. It is yellow, so I've done something wrong. But it's apparently not fatal at the moment. Give me time. Okay, I'm going to readjust my heading bug around here. Okay, now we're direct to Google, or Golf, excuse me. Now that we're done with our takeoff, I'm going to go ahead and just crunch my bugs. We don't need those, passing 8,000 feet. And so far, so good. After takeoff checklist. So brake temperatures. After takeoff, you do your brake temperatures. And our brake temperatures are below 50. So I'm going to guess brake temperatures are good. Landing gear up, lights out. Auto brake is off. We set that. Auto brakes are off. Speed brake lever is disarmed. Flaps and slats are up and retracted. That's good. Engine ignition, as required. We're not in rain or moisture, so we can go to engine ignition off. Center fuel pump as required. Well, I think we still have fuel in the center fuel pump. Yep, we do. So center fuel pump is good, and altimeters at 18,000 feet. The after takeoff checklist is good. Now, I'm a little bit out of balance in fuel. So we juiced an awful lot off that right main tank while I was on the phone. Our climb has slowly stopped, but we're still climbing a little bit. Mostly the airplane is trying to get us up to speed. So we're coming up to about 300 knots. We are 600 miles from Newark. Just past 10,000 feet, so landing lights. I saw some way to do them all together.
Stabilizer motion.
Oh my gosh, Betty is still with us. Okay, so I guess when I did the nose lights up after I turned the wing landing lights off, they all did that. All right, so Betty is still flying with us. Let's make the map a little bigger. Let's go ahead and dial our heading knob to match our heading. Passing 10,000 feet. See, we should have also done a 10,000 foot cabin call. And my cabin call is I use the no smoking switch. I think there's a cabin call you can do. Calling attendant here. I don't need to call the attendant. I just ring the bell, let them know it's 10,000 feet, which is the cabin attendants. They'll just tell the passengers, stay in your seats. We don't have the seatbelt sign off. And a beautiful day outside of Atlanta. The scenery is absolutely amazing still in flight sim. And we've got this incredible airplane, which is just amazing. Vertical speed, we're in really good shape here, I think. Okay, we've gone and cross bleeds are off. Auto brakes are off. Oh, I did forget to squawk Terra. Squawking Terra. Okay, we got Terra going there. And we are now direct to Plummer. ATC is called climb and maintain flight level 250. Again, these are just, I'm pulling those numbers out of memory based on other departures out of Atlanta. So we're just kind of keeping the climb going here, which is really kind of nice. So looking up here, so as we look around here, those are fuel pumps. I don't see a cross feed, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be around here. Here is engine anti-ice. There's the anti-fog. The only thing that I think you're supposed to have is anti-ice on there, on the windshield. Okay, so there is override, pneumatics, fuel heaters, but I don't see a way to transfer a fuel transfer. So we'll look up here. This is all electrical. I don't see that galley power remains on. Here is APU. APU is off and quiet. What do we have up here? Here's more electrical monitoring. Here is, I'm going to guess, navigation gear. Looking over here, there's more nav gear. Engine sync. Here was wind shear test. Flight recorder, you can actually put your date in here to the flight recorder. ACARS is clear. Thunderstorm lights. Attendant call, stall test, logo lights, mock trim, yaw dampers. Air conditioning is on auto. Temperature select monitoring is in the cabin right now. Here is landing altitude, rain, wipers, air conditioning. If there is a fuel crossfeed type of a thing, I don't know it. I don't see it. And I'm not entirely certain that you just turn things on and off. I think you're also supposed, no, emergency power. I know in the MD-11 you arm it. Okay, is there any kind of a fuel crossfeed down here? So I know that we've got a cross bleed there. Stabilizer trim. Alternate long trim. Nope. If there is a fuel crossfeed, I don't see it. I don't see it over here. You see, after takeoff, I guess after takeoff, we could turn ART back on. We'll go ahead and just turn on ART and guard that so we don't forget it. Oh, I should have gone to climb power. Whoops. Climb power. Totally forgot to do that. Too busy focusing on can I crossfeed. So that's my next thing to learn is what do you do when your fuel is out of balance? Now, a lot of people on the live stream when we're flying this, they see the red thing here. It says VOR fail. That just basically means that this VOR over here isn't receiving anything. And if you dial in your ILS, your ILS frequency, instead of VOR fail, it's going to say ILS fail. Okay, so that's all that means. Now, one thing to note, see where nav and nav are now no longer enunciated in yellow and in a box? That leads me to believe that, hey, maybe everything's good. 18,000 feet, 2992 on the altimeter. So 2992 or 1013 millibars. There we go. So there is our altimeter set, 2992. I'm going to do another cabin call. Basically at 18,000 feet or 18 to 20,000 feet, I do another cabin call unless we're getting bounced all over the place. And what that does is that that cabin call is to let the flight attendants know they can get up. So seatbelt signs on, but you can let the cabin crew get up and do their thing. Drink carts, pizza carts. Of course, now would also be a time when I would go and unlock my cockpit door and hope that they'll bring some pizza up here. They never do. Okay, looking pretty good. I also like to go and keep my heading straight ahead here. Straight at the top whenever I can. Looking over here, this is all nicely done, so we can go ahead and get out of this. I don't know what flight mode is. Maybe it's this one. I'm not sure which one that would be. And there we are at plumber. Now we're going to tense. So we'll just dial this over to tense. And that looks good too. Passing 20,000 feet, ATC has called. And they have basically said, guess what? You could go and climb and maintain your final cruising altitude, which is flight level 350. So 35,000 feet. And again, press the center button. That arms it, I guess, in the system. Otherwise, I think it would have stopped at your last altitude. We do have a master caution on. Why don't you like me? Maybe it doesn't like the fact that I opened my door. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know why it's upset. It's upset for some reason. I swear on this airplane, you get a caution for everything. Somebody goes back and doesn't flush the toilet, I'll bet you get a caution. In other words, there's so many cautions that pop up and I have no idea what it is that, it's angry at me for. Lights are all good. Altitude is good. So VNAV climb, nav track, FMS is set to EPR mode, engine pressure ratio. I think life is good. That's probably just me saying it out loud like that for, my own benefit, to reassure myself, which is what you do. Okay, so we are done with our checklists here. So the next page is going to be descent, approach, final, and then after landing and parking and leaving the airplane. So there's 2 pages to this. Right now I'm using this as a PDF. I've also printed up some things. I might actually print those up and put them in one of those little clear plastic sleeve things, so it's just right there. That's really one of the best ways that I know to use a checklist in these complex airplanes, because that way I'm not reliant on the PDF file over there, because I have so many other things up and running here. Passing 23,000 feet. Now, if there is no turbulence, I will usually go at about 25,000 feet. That's when I'm going to go ahead, and that's when I'm going to turn off seatbelts. So there's 24. Again, I don't know if that's the right way to do it or the wrong way to do it. 25,000 feet's kind of stuck in my head because that seems to be when I'm a passenger, when they go and turn off seatbelts. There is an interesting little artifact on this airplane, and that's you see this little thing right here? You see there's this little piece of metal and that white thing? So this is my standard captain's view. If you turn over here and you look around and you see the opposite one here, do you see the silver thing and it's lined up in there? That's how you tell if your seat is set where you're supposed to be seated on this airplane. No, over on the Airbus, the 3 little beads here, and there's a white one and a red one in the middle and another white one, and you're supposed to block the white one with the far red one, and that tells you that your eye point is where you're supposed to be. This is how you decide, my eye point is where I'm supposed to be here. So you probably see this is my standard view right now. And then if we go and then just pan over there, you can see it's all set. And so that's how you set your eye point in this airplane, which is really kind of a cool thing to do. Okay, there's 25,000 feet. We don't have any turbulence. I'm going to go ahead. I'm sure that there is a passenger back there that had too much Starbucks. So I'm going to go. Seatbelts are off. Ooh, center fuel pressure is low. 50. So let's go ahead and we're going to turn off that center fuel tank now. Off, off. Center fuel tank is now off, and that cleared the panel there. And so now we have 8,800 pounds on the left side, 8,500 pounds on the right side. Again, I don't know how to balance that out. It could be as simple as these, maybe all the fuel tanks are hooked together, and I should just turn these off. I think that might have that could just shut down my right engine, and we'd crash. So the question now is, should we experiment? Let's experiment. What could possibly go wrong, right? Where's my Chernobyl button here? All right. So we had 8750, 8500. Well, that one dropped a little bit, but that one didn't. Is this airplane super duper smart? Does it know? Is it balancing it out right now? I don't know. Let's see what happens. If this keeps going down, then the airplane is going to automatically balance out the fuel. What we're doing right now in flight simulator, okay, nope, it's 8450. Okay, so now we've got to, roll the dice. Do we dare? Let's live dangerously. Off and off. Let's watch that right engine. If that right engine starts to go off, then I know I've screwed up and we're all going to die. Okay? My right engine is holding, N1 still at 90%. We're stopped here at 8450. You know, it's probably okay to say I did not see a fuel crossfeed valve of some sort. My guess is you shut that down, all of a sudden it's going to juice off of the side that's getting the pump on. So maybe this is how you balance your fuel. I don't know. I have a master caution. It's probably because right inlet fuel pressure is low. Well, there's a reason for that. So that's probably why it's upset with me. There's 8650. So we'll turn those fuel pumps back on at 84. And then we will be balanced. Imagine that. Passing 28,000 feet, we're doing pretty good going to flight level 350. Look over here. We are 558 miles outside of Newark. We're going to be landing at 1906 Zulu, and we should have 11,100 pounds of fuel in the tanks. Look at your active flight plan. And if you look over here at FinRes and alternate fuel, final reserve and alternate, if it goes below 7,800, you have invaded your alternate. So we've got plenty of gas. So that's good. We're at 8.5. We want to go to 8.3. So 200 pounds over here, and then we will be back in balance. So I guess it was as simple as that. And it's probably okay. We didn't find a crossfeed valve. So I guess that's how you balance out your fuel in a Mad Dog. The dog didn't get mad. It's not barking at me. So there you go. Everything's still good up here. Nothing's flashing, beeping, or blinking. So that must be a good thing. I guess the smartest thing to have done would have been to look at the flight manual, but seriously, we're flight simmers. We do read flight manuals. We do. We're not that reckless and crazy. Sometimes. Okay, if you look over here, even though I've turned off those fuel pumps, my right main is still going down. Now we're at 8250. This one is going down faster, so it's still juicing off the right main tank. It's just, I think it's going out faster on this one. Let's see if they catch up, that's going to be great. If they don't, we're in big trouble. As we're looking here, we could also take a look. There's fuel temperatures are good. Pressure for oil, oil temperature, oil quantity, hydraulics are still good. This is where we would look at those things. So life is good there. I've got some flashing going on here. There's this fuel flash here and slats. I wonder what that means. So that flashed at us a little bit, and slats is flashing at us. I wonder why slats is flashing. 8482, so 200 pounds to go. So we were at 300, so this is still going down. I think this is going faster. I hope. Passing 32,000 feet, you can see our top of climb banana here is slightly less than 20 miles away from top of climb. Does that tell us that here? It says econ climb, our cruise altitude. I could have put in a speed restriction and it gives me my maximum angle, but that's about all it's given me in there. And how's our fuel? It's 350. 150. I wonder if it's going to let me balance it out to 200 or we're just going to stay 200 away. Welcome to the fuel balancing rabbit hole in the Mad Dog. 8100, 8350, 83. So we're still about, it looks like it's holding me at about 200 pounds. And even with turning off those fuel pumps, I don't think it's going to catch me up. I think we're going to stay at 200 pounds out of balance. We're going to remain unbalanced. So if that's the way it's going to be, I'm going to guess that the thing to do is probably come back up here and just get our pumps back on. I think that's probably what we should do, because I don't think it's going to change. And it could be running the pumps off like this for a long period of time is not a good thing to do. Oh, we're coming up on our final cruising altitude. Maybe if we rock the airplane like this, the fuel will slosh over that way. Okay, that's 8250 and 8,000. Yeah, I don't think it's going to do much. I'm going to go over here and get my fuel back on, just because, I think that's the thing to do. We're coming up on our final cruising altitude, 35,000 feet. We're coming up on Berg. And that looks good. So we should switch over automatically from Econ Climb to Econ Cruise. And it says VNAV level, so that's changed over here. So now nav track, FMS speed, VNAV level is good. We're up now. It just switched us to Econ Cruise. Flight level 350. Our optimum was 349, so this is our best fuel. Our fuel at Newark is set to be 11,000 pounds, so that's great news. And the next thing for us to do is, it's not automatic. We have to push the cruise button. There's cruise. And life is good there. We're indicating Mach 0.75. Usually this thing cruises a little bit faster at like Mach 0.8 and change. But it looks like that's what it's going to do for us today. Econ speed. Okay, so our econ speed for this is Mach 0.74. So that's as good as it gets as far as that, unless we want to be wasteful. Okay, so the next thing for us to do is we can come in here to legs. And all I'm going to do is just look through here and make sure that somehow a discontinuity did not creep in. At FUBAR, we've got flight level 27, DQQ. All of this looks good. There's our descent. Then after that, okay, everything looks great, and it's even got the missed approach listed in there. So I'm going to put this back into cruise mode. I'm going to leave this one over here on progress, and we're 500 miles away from Newark. And we should be landing at 1905. So life is absolutely perfect. Pressurization should be good. We're not killing our passengers. Yes, we've got good cabin pressurization. This is set pretty close to what we need for our landing. I don't think that there's anything left to do. Let's see what happens if we unlock the door. We've unlocked the door. Does that give us a caution? Nope, didn't do a caution, so the door's unlocked too. So eventually what's going to happen, let's make the map a little bit bigger and look down here. Okay, so nope, not that. That's not good. Let's make the map bigger. There's 40, 60. There's fact, there's Barry, there's omens. Let's make it one more. Nope, that's as big as it's going to get. So what we will get is we will get a little dot in here, and that's going to give us our top of descent. I wonder if we, over here on the descent page, can put in descent winds. Hey, there's a forecast page. Look at that. Oh, we could do forecast. So we could go over here, and to put our forecast winds in for descent, we go to the end of the flight plans, the segments, and here is the wind information, and this is our descent winds. So basically, you just plug these in manually. So let's go ahead and plug those in. We're at flight level 350, so 350. That goes over here. And at 350, the wind is supposed to be 317 degrees, do the slash, at 57 knots. And then that goes over there. Okay, flight level 310. That goes over there. And at it's 232 at 71. Really? 323 at 71. 323 at 71. Wow, it's windier lower. Okay, after that, it's flight level 200. And at flight level 200, it's 334 at 43. 334 at 43 knots. And at flight level 150, it's supposed to be 339 at 42. 339 at 42. Now it says TAT on altitude. Total air temperature transition level. Transition level is flight level 180. TAT, total air temperature on altimeter? No, that's not TAT, that's TAI. I have no idea what to put in there. So I am not going to touch it until I know. So at this point, there is our descent forecast. I'm going to go back to the cruise page. This is looking good. Oh, we lost a little bit of gas. It's 10.9, so we have to monitor that. And then we look over here. There's FAC, there's OTT, there's Barry. Now, if you're a little nervous about your top of descent and you're using SimToolkit Pro, come on over here to the map here. Here you can see our departure on the map. Zoom out. There is top of climb. Oh, there's our little airplane there. Now we'll come on up here, and you can see that it's the initial flight plan is supposed to do top of descent at DQO. So that's after FUBAR. So FUBAR, DQO, and then Steffi. Well, all we can see is Barry, FAC, Omens, and OTT. So, the top of descent isn't going to show up here in our very, very big map here. Above, we need to change the transponder. And what we do here is do the A and B, hit the N button to normal. And then if we come back over here, you can see it's normal. So it's looking straight ahead, and then on descent, we point it to go down. You can also change range. So right now I have it set to 10 miles. Usually I like a 10-mile range. You can click it up one, and you can kick it up to 15-mile range. And so we could do that. I like to usually keep it at around 10, especially on an approach. If I start to see an airplane around 10 miles, at that point in time, it's like, oh my gosh, horrors, terrible. It will be awful. So we've gone and put in our descent winds. We've done our checklists. The only other thing that I might do at this point is come over here, go to Digital ATIS, and hit refresh. Current Newark ATIS is Juliet, and it is still Juliet. And so I just hit refresh, and we can see here that runway 4 right is still the approach in use. They're departing on 4 left, so all is right with the world there. The only other thing that I might do at this time is come on over to charts. We're not going back to Atlanta, so I'm going to hit the edit button, and I'm going to delete the Atlanta charts from here. This is the reason why it is that I don't do the automatic sync with the current flight. I want to just get rid of the charts. The charts, when I don't need the charts and I know we're going on to Newark, it's just simpler, and it keeps my little stack of charts down here cleaner. So there's the Dillon arrival, 8,000 feet at Dillon. After Dillon, we're going to come over here to Kilma. And at Gritty, right here, Gritty, we're at 2,800. There is the ILS frequency. There is the inbound course. Minimums to come in 200 feet. Coming in off the runway, we're going to be landing here on 04 right. On the right side, we'll probably exit at Papa 3. After Papa 3, we can catch KEWR coming on into the gate area. The real world flight is going to gate 46. So as we look over here, gate 46 is in Concourse Terminal B, and it's the rounder down here. So as we come off of KEWR, we would probably end up getting Romeo or Sierra to come down here, and we'll go to Delta KEWR right over here to B1, which is B1 right there, and there's our gate 46. So all of that's pretty much set. We now generally know where we're going to be going, where we're going to park. We can go up here and we can zoom in here and keep track. We're over Charlotte, and we are up to date. Passengers are happy. Flight attendants are annoyed at the stupid passengers, and life is all pretty good here. So what we'll do is I'm going to leave my map here at the big range, and as I start to see, fact is maybe there. Okay, you see the little green dot thing there? That's the top of descent indicator right there. So we've got to go, and I'm going to get this beyond the 160 mile range. When the green dot top of descent thing shows up, that's when it is that I'm going to go ahead and start the video again. Otherwise, you just have to sit here and listen to me tell ridiculously bad jokes. So here's 80 miles. So this is the 160 mile range. So when the top of descent thing gets, shows up on my map here and comes on in there, that's when I'm going to restart the video. So this is a perfect time to go outside, enjoy the view outside the airplane. The scenery is, of course, absolutely amazing. And when your airplane gets to be 100 miles or thereabouts close to your top of descent, that's when you should restart the video, okay? See you 100 miles from top of descent. Welcome back. The good news is we are still flying, and we are approaching that 100-mile top of descent point. It's kind of hard to see here, but you can see the green T/D and the green little green dot. So for us, this is about as close as it gets to a good top of descent indication. Now, if you look down here, at a certain point in time, when you get about 200 miles or so out, we do get an indicator here, and it says to top of descent, 127 nautical miles, and it gives you a Zulu time too. So if you're flying real world time, you can look at the clock. It's right now, it is 1820 Zulu. It says we should start our descent at 1838. So we've got 18 minutes till our top of descent. So what do? Well, the first thing that I usually do if I'm flying alone or on VATSIM or wherever, I want to know what's going on at the airport. So if I have VATSIM up and there's ATC, you can click in vPilot or XPilot if you're an X-plane, and you can click the ATIS and get what we see here. Remember, just before we hit the pause button, Information Juliet was current at Newark. Let's hit the refresh button, and now it is Information KEWR. So right now the winds are 320 at 7 knots. It's 10 miles visibility, a few clouds at 500 feet, a few clouds at 1,100 feet, 25,000 feet. We've got 8 degrees, minus 13 is the dew point, and the altimeter is 2984. Usually I will go and hit Control-C, and I'm going to go ahead and just put this right in here next to my flight notes. That way I've got the altimeter and everything that I need, okay? So, and again, I did cut and paste those into the description so you can get a copy of my little notepad thing that I use and change it and make it work really good for you. Okay, runway 4 right is still our runway in use. Approach let's see, GLS is available. The new Terminal A is open for operations. Exciting news. 5G NOTAMs in effect for Newark. Caution for birds and cranes in vicinity of Newark. All right, so we now know that there is bird activity in the vicinity of the airport. Now that we know that, and we know that our current approach is all good and groovy. Groovy? Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, ATC just called and said we are cleared to descend at pilot's discretion on the Dillon for arrival, and to expect the landing on runway 04 right. So that means at Dillon, we have to be at 8,000 feet. So once we get that clearance, we can come over here and we can put 8,000 feet in right here. So 8,000 feet. And once you put it in, press it, and that should arm it. You see altitude is now armed. And if you're in VNAV mode like we're in, it's going to start our descent for us. So let's see, I've been bad. I have not been updating my heading. Let's keep the heading bug pointed straight up. And as we get a little closer to that top of descent, I'm on the 160 mile range. I'm going to go and click this down to 80 miles now. And we're going direct to OTT. And all of that looks good. So we've got that initial descent set up. The next thing for us to do is to come on over here and go to the performance page, and we're going to go and do landing. And so come on over here and let's click the airport. You do have to change the airport. So KEWR, Newark, and enter. And then take that information off of that ATIS that you just got right there. So conditions are dry. The winds are 320 at 7. So click the box, 320/07. Enter. Outside air temperature, 8 degrees. So 08. Enter. Flaps, let's see, we are going to be landing on 4 right, so we need to change it to 4 right. And usually I have to just click through all of them, and yours is always the last one. Flaps, I'm going to be landing full flaps basically. QNH, altimeter is 2984. So 2984, enter. Reversers are yes. Auto brakes, I usually go auto brakes medium. And now we need our landing rate. So the best place to get that is to come back over here and grab one of your FMSs. And we're going to go to menu and ACARS. And page 2 should be the law, or the landing weight. And it says your max for landing is going to be 130,000 pounds. We're going to be 126,764. And I always forget it. 126,764. So 126,764. And enter. After all of that, we can go calculate, and this should give us our actual landing distance, how much runway we're going to need. It's going to give us a VAP approach. And remember, we added 5 additional knots to all of these, so we added a little bit of speed there. So it did give us our VREF information for landing. So that's pretty good. Okay, so everything's good there. Let's go ahead and get out of this. We'll go back into menu, back into, and back to progress. So that looks good. 86 miles from top of descent. Next stuff we could do, we already know that the runway that we're landing. And so even if they're doing a visual approach and stuff like that, one of the things that I really like to do is go ahead, and if there's an ILS and you got time, set it in there. So the ILS over here is going to be 108.7 with an inbound course of 039 degrees. The reason that I say even if it's a beautiful day and it's visual approach and all of that is because it's still a simulator. I'm still sitting at home in a comfortable chair looking at a computer screen. That means there is not the kind of depth that you need to be able to judge your landing the way a real pilot's going to be able to judge their descent and whether or not we're going to land. By setting the ILS, even if you're going to be hands-on visual, you've got another set of reference points to look at, particularly the glide slope. And you can see how are we doing on the glide slope here. And that's just another set of reference points that you can use, and that helps you make up for the fact that you're looking at a computer screen and there's no real depth from the real world. So 108.7 is going to be the ILS frequency. 108.7. Inbound course is going to be 039. So 039. And as you get close, you just go slow. Okay. And now, by the way, if you look and see, now because we're not picking up a VOR, now we're tuned to an ILS. It says localizer fail. And it even says it up here. Don't worry about it. It'll go away when you're picking up the localizer. I first saw that, oh my gosh, I have a failure. No, we just haven't picked it up. Okay, next thing to do is minimums. We're going to do a Category 1 approach. Minimums are 200 feet. This isn't the MDA. So it's this is 200 feet is what you need on this old bird. So we'll come on in here, and that is over here. PFD decision height. Look up here at the top and start dialing that number. And see DH is now popped up. So just keep going and dial in 200. If you're going to do an RNAV approach or another one of those ILSs, it's 250 feet, 300 feet. That's where you go ahead and pop that in. So now we've got glide slow ILS, we've got inbound course, we've got decision height. The next thing that I'll do is I'll come over here and I'm going to look around here. We don't really have a VOR over the airport. We have Canarsie over here. We've got Teterboro up here, but we actually don't have one here that we can just dial in. If there was one right on top of the airport, I might go and pop that in over on the co-pilot side. Now, what we could do if we wanted to is we could do missed approach. And this is something we really should do, especially if you're going to be in a VATSIM event. So missed approach, climb straight ahead to 600 feet, then right turn, continue your climb to 2,500 on a heading of 060 inbound Teterboro on the 205 radio. Then you hold at Teterboro or as directed. So if we have to do a missed approach, we go out here until we get to 600 feet. Then we make a turn to get over on the Teterboro 205 radial. We could set that over in the other, so we could set 108.4 and 205 over on the co-pilot side, and that would be the smart thing to do there. But I'm not going to be smart at the moment. If you take a look here, how's the fuel imbalance situation? 6050.58. So I really wasn't able to balance it anymore. So I don't know if there's any more balancing that we can do, but there you go. Notice this also is giving us our gross weight. It's keeping track of our gross weight down there. That's pretty good. I appreciate that out of the computer. So at this point in time, except for setting things like the missed approach, we're all ready to go. And if you look down here, there's the little green top of descent indicator there. The flight management computer says we are now 51 miles from top of descent. It's expected to happen at 1838 Zulu. There's 1831, so 7 minutes to go. And all is right with the world. So everything else is going pretty good. At this point in time, the real pilots might pop on the PA system and say, hey, folks, guess what? We are a cool 168 miles from Newark. We expect that we're going to be landing, and you can do the math, at night, right around 2:05. We should have you at the gate at about no later than 2:15 in the afternoon if you want to try and do all the time math in your head, which really will drive you crazy. We're going to be turning on the seatbelt sign in a few minutes. So anybody who's got some last-minute business to do in the lavatories, now is your time. And at that point in time, thanks for flying with us, blah, blah, blah. The only other thing that I'm going to look at here, I'm going to look at my fuel. I'm at 10.7. Again, I can go back to my flight plan and I can look at my final reserve and alternate. It says 7.8. I have more than enough fuel to go around. So fuel is not something to worry about. The other thing that I might start doing here is I think I need to clear out dial a flap for takeoff. So for the dial a flap from landing, so I think I need to go and zero this out to the stow position and zero that out there and just do flaps out there. I'm not sure if that's the way you do that or not, but that's usually what I've been doing. So let's come on over here and see what our next checklist is. It's the descent checklist. So MSA is checked. We know about our landing altitudes, approach and landing briefing. We just did that. MDF. No idea, but we've checked it. Landing data is confirmed. VBugs. We have not sent our VBugs, but if you come on down here and click them, that will set your VBugs. So VBugs are set. All right, radio altimeter audio marker. I think we've set that with that altitude. Hydraulic system, set and checked. So I guess at this point in time, all we would need to do is come here and take a look at our hydraulics. How's the hydraulic pressure? Is pretty good. We haven't lost any hydraulic pressure, so all that's good. And then pressurization, the only other thing that we would do is the pressurization. The landing altitude hasn't changed, but one thing that has changed is the altimeter, and the altimeter should be 2984, so it's dropped a bit. So we're going to go and drop that down to 29.84 for the landing baro. The altitude hasn't changed, so there we go. All of that is good to go. And at this point in time, I think we basically get to say the descent checklist is done. So after that, we're going to have approach and final checklists. So those are good to go over there. And I'm going to move my flight notes. Flight notes, pretty much, I haven't changed any of these. All I've really done, I'm going to put in my cruise for you. So some of this information I don't usually cut and paste in, like this is special information for the MD-11, but there. So you'll see that information all set up so you can fly the same flight that I'm doing. Okay, we are getting even closer to top of descent, 23 miles. So now all we can do is sit here and monitor the airplane and make sure it starts its descent. I see altitude is enunciated in gold or amber, gold, I guess. So yellow. Anyway, it's a different color than green. I think that means that our descent is armed, and we're just waiting for the last few miles to go. 20 miles to go. So we get to chill and relax. We can come back here, look out the window. What a nice day in the neighborhood it is. We didn't really look around the cabin very much. This cabin's pretty good. Some of the textures are a little bit old and a little bit fuzzy, but they're okay. I don't think that seatbelt lights and stuff work in this airplane. It's a little, this one's a little interesting. So the airplane itself was a 2x3 setup here. Actually, that's nice. I usually travel alone, so, 2 seats, better than 3. So that's kind of nice. If you come back this way, there is a galley back by this back door. So this was kind of interesting. It had a little galley here by the back door in the back of the airplane. That's kind of interesting. So there was it's kind of a smaller door there, but that's pretty cool. Of course, one of the things that everybody talks about is the engines on the back of the airplane. And if you look over here, so the last 2 rows, you might have a window, but all you have here at your window is a beautiful view of a jet engine. I mean, no kidding. Now, there's some people over in the Spy Flight live stream on Twitch. They basically say, I get a really good nap just sitting next to the engine. like that. So there's some people that get a very, very nice nap there. And there's our very, very long aisle up there. I don't remember if this door opens when we extend the stairs or not. I think it does, though. There's 2 lavatories in there. I've looked. There's nothing in the bathrooms there. So there is our very, very nice cabin here. You can't open the overhead bins, so there's no plushies or anything like that. I do think at night the aisle lighting, the aisle emergency lighting, does illuminate or reflect. I don't think we're going to make it up here in time. So let's go ahead and last thing we'll do, they never gave us coffee or pizza, so let's go ahead and hit deny, and that's going to close and lock the door. And if we look down there, you can see we have started our descent. Perfect timing. Down we go. So the airplane's going to manage our speed going down, and down we go. We can come over here. I can put data up in here. I believe this is going to give us arrival time and altitude constraints. I don't think that this shows you what your speed constraints are, but if you look over here in legs, it is going to give you a speed constraint. So if you have a slowdown or something, it's going to show up there. So that's good to go. I'll usually leave this on the descent page. This also is going to give us path error. If we're a little high, a little low, this is going to tell us about that. If we get a speed restriction from ATC, so they might say 300 knots or something like that, you could put that in there. We've already done the forecast, so wow, we're just like on top of it today. Almost like we know what we're doing. This is scary. Passing 31,000 feet. I think everything else is pretty well set. I think we're in as good a shape as we can be. I think that one of the important things to do with airplanes like this is stay as far ahead of the airplane as you possibly can, because once you start getting behind, life really starts to get bad. There's Baltimore down there. There's Atlantic City, New Jersey. Lakehurst, New Jersey. Watch out for Zeppelins. That's where the Hindenburg crashed. There is our approach there. All of this looks good. You may want to refresh your memory about where you think you're going to be going here. That's an important thing to do, especially if you're going into a busy airport and a busy VATSIM event. As we get closer, depending upon the time, so if we come over here and look at the clock, it is 1840 right now. So if we kind of look in here, this one was for 1751. So in another 9 minutes, they're going to do another set of weather updates. So we may want to hit the ATIS button, whether we're here or on VATSIM, hit the refresh button at the top of the hour. We may have a new altimeter setting. They may change runways on you. Hopefully not. And I'm being a bad pilot. I have not reset my heading bug. So right now, VNAV is being really good. Here's the thing about these old airplanes. VNAV gets a little bit nutty the closer to the ground you get. So I will end up taking it off of VNAV and go to speed and variable, variable speed. So vertical speed, I will start controlling that the closer to the ground we get. I've also forgotten to come down here and hit the A and B button, and now it's going to go to below. So this is going to be keeping an eye out for traffic below me, ahead and below, since we're descending. There's 25,000 feet. This is usually where I will go and start doing seatbelts unless there's turbulence. So seatbelts on. And then between 18,000 feet and 10,000 feet, I will do a cabin call. And that's, you know, flight attendants, seats for landing. But right now, you know, they're buttoning up the galleys, doing that last little walk through the cabin with the trash bag. Now, as we get even closer here, you can see things are getting really bunched up there. So now's a good time to go from 80 to 40 miles. So 40 miles is what we have ahead of us. We've also got a descent deviation indicator here. So as long as the little pink triangle, pink diamond is centered here, you're on your descent path just fine. It will change with the wind. It will change with some constraints. So you kind of have to keep an eye on that. Keep an eye down here. It will also probably tell you that it needs speed brakes from time to time. We can come down here. We did say that we are going to do auto brakes to medium. Now you got to wait until you get flaps out and everything before you can arm it. Watch what happens when I try to arm it. See how it turned off? So you have to wait a little bit before you can arm that thing. You could arm your speed brakes now, but if you have to use the speed brakes in your descent, then you're going to have to rearm those speed brakes. And I think that that's almost universal in old planes and new airplanes. Okay, coming up on Steffi here, and at Steffi, all we have to be here at Steffi is above 13,000 feet. And we're at 20,000 feet. Our descent deviation's actually pretty good. It does slow our speed is a little bit slow on the descent. I don't mind that very much. You know, unless there's traffic behind me and ATC's saying, hey, get a move on here, then slowing this old bird down, not too slow, but getting it to the manageable speed is really a good thing. Let's see, that is Modena, I think is where we're coming up on. And over here, as we come on, there should be a little town called Pottstown. That leaves the door wide open for all sorts of silly jokes. Oh, 18,000 feet. And if you've kept your METAR up to date, it's 2984. If you didn't, you can get it through Navigraph. You can get it online. You can get it on vPilot if you're on VATSIM. So there we go, 29.84, 2984. There's transition. There we go, 2984. We're good to go there. Now, as we get a little bit closer, instead of having the big view on my map here, I may come and pop this in. So we are on our way to Steffi. After Steffi, it's Sumto. Now, it's not going to show up until after we get past Steffi and into Sumto. Okay, it's showing us as a little bit slow right now. But again, I'm not going to stress about that, and you shouldn't either, unless ATC is telling you to pick it up. We're still not bad. I mean, our what are we indicating? 270, 280, 270? That's not a bad speed for descent. Nothing else really to worry about here. Our landing time has not changed much. Let's see, still shows, well, it's 66 miles away from Newark, and it says we are 12 feet high, or maybe 120 feet high, probably 120. I doubt this airplane's capable of measuring 12 feet. This airplane should slow us to 250 knots as we come on in here. You probably are hearing a little bit of a whiny sound, maybe in your right speaker. So what that whiny sound is the sound of the auto throttle. There's these little servo motors, probably related to Tom Servo from Mystery Science Theater. But so there are two little servo motors that move these things forward. And you're hearing them in the right speaker here on the captain's seat. If you move over to the co-pilot seat, you'll hear the Tom servo motors over in your left speaker or your left ear. So that's kind of an interesting thing. So if you wonder what the whine is, that's what those are. And you can almost always, yeah, see, throttles are moving forward now. It's trying to kick the speed up a little bit here. And we're supposed to be at 11,000 feet at Sumto. So as we're coming up here, we're at 12.5. We're 3 miles from Sumto. So it's probably kicking our speed up just a little bit there. And it'll stop us. It looks like we're descending at about 290. There's 11,000 feet. It should slow us down. When you're doing a flight like this, when you're caught up, it also gives you time to go look out the window. And as you come into something like New York and all that, that is Northeast Philadelphia Airport, little executives thing, KPNE, right down out the window. That's another good reason to have some sort of a moving map on another monitor if you can, because if you're looking out the window, ooh, there's an airport. You can look right over, oh, that is Philadelphia. So anyway, that's one of the cool reasons to do that sort of thing. Okay, here we are with Metro. Now, as we get closer to Metro and stuff like that, I'm going to go ahead and start taking control away from VNAV on this thing. So it's slowing us down to 250 knots. That's good. There's 10,000 feet. So start extending the little landing lights. And the landing lights, by the way, are on the wingtips. In fact, if you look carefully, you can see a little thing here. I've zoomed in as much as I can. There is your landing light that has dropped down. So your high intensity landing lights on this thing are out on the tips of the wings. And so there's 250. It's trying to get to 240. There's 10,000 feet. At this point in time, again, old airplane. By now, ATC is probably taking us off of VNAV descent anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and hit vertical speed and speed. I want control of those myself. And there's 240. They're going to probably tell us 210 soon. We're still going to hit 8,000 feet at Dillon. Well, let's see. We're a little high at the moment. So let's go ahead and increase our rate of descent to about 1,500 feet per minute and see if that puts that right over Dillon. Yeah, there it is, right over Dillon. So we'll catch up there just fine. So we're going to hit that altitude constraint after Dillon. ATC would probably send us down to, what do we got over here? It's 2,800 at Gritty. I bet they would do descend and maintain 4,000 after Dillon. In fact, our friends from ATC just called up and said 4,000 feet, descend and maintain 4,000 feet. So arm it. And at this point in time, they're probably also going to tell us, probably aren't going to tell us anything about any different airspeeds yet. But they're going to slow you up and speed you up and slow you down here. Let's go ahead and reduce that just a bit more to 1,000 feet per minute. I kind of want to put that 4,000 feet here between Metro and Kilma right in there. So that's almost perfect. Still says localizer fail. We should start to pick that up soon. There's 8,000 feet. I'm going to go ahead and do a second cabin call. So want flight attendants in the jump seats now. Flight attendants seats for landing. There's 7,800. We're looking good there. Now we're going to come down here, take it out of descent, and I'm going to go to approach ref. For flaps 40, it's 128. For flaps 28, it's 137. I always add a little bit to an old airplane like this, so I'm going up to between 135 and 140. I also add a little bit more. So there's a 140 right there. I can't see. It's also good to maybe round it up so that you can look down, and when you're sitting and flying the plane, you can actually read those numbers. And so if you round it up in your head to, okay, we're landing at 140. It's easier to see your airspeed indicator is pointed right at the 140, and you know you're not getting too slow. So it's easier for me to see that. Okay, the runway is now showing up here. So I'm going to go ahead and click the map in another one. So we're on the 20-mile range right now. And life is good here. ATC is cold, 210 knots. So we're going to get our speed, let it go down to 210. And all we do here is look and see, is this going to go ahead and is it going down? If it's going down, then life is good. If not, you might need some speed brakes. You might need speed brakes. If you've got a cup of coffee in your cockpit, at this point as things are getting busier, maybe move the cup of coffee away from any of your controls in case you have to reach for something quickly. That prevents spills in your sim cockpit. Another thing to do is, as you've been flying along like we've been flying along today, I tend to get comfortable in the chair. Now's the time to sit up. Make sure that, you know, when it's time, put your feet on your rudder pedals, grab your instruments. Okay, here's the top end. It's 2:30. I think it's time to go and do leading edge slats. So first click, there goes our slats. I always like this one. They always go down a little bit. Sometimes they go back up. That's also going to help increase the drag just a little bit and get our speed down to that 210 that ATC has told us. Everything's looking good here so far. Lights are good. There's really nothing that we need to do up here. We preset the landing altitude. If there were icing, we'd need to do some icing, but there really isn't anything that we need to do up there. There's Metro. Now we're going direct to Kilma. At this point in time in the VATSIM world, we would probably be doing vectors by now. So this is another good reason to keep your little heading bug always updated, because eventually they're going to go and tell you to do vectors. We are currently 28 miles from Newark Airport. As we get to around 20 miles, we should start expecting the localizer fail red stuff to go away. We're at 210 knots, coming up on 4,000 feet. At gritty, we need to be at 2,800 feet. We're holding 210 knots. Always good to check that in these old airplanes. You know, if the airplane didn't quite get the memo about the airspeed and stuff, that can be a little bit... That's, oh my God, it's going to be terrible. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. We are 26 miles. Still waiting to start picking up the localizer. ATC just called. Descend and maintain 2,800. So we'll go down here. 3 is about as close as I think we can get. I don't know how to make it go less than that. So it's either 2,000 or 3,000. So we'll go to 3,000. I'm sure there's a way to do that, but I don't know where it is. So descend and maintain 2,000. I hit the button. It could be that maybe we need to hit vertical speed and do it ourselves. Oh yeah, you have to make sure you're in vertical speed mode and start your descent yourself. Okay, that's good. There's got to be a way to put a 2,800 in there. Is there anything in there? So altitude, turbulence. Nope, don't see anything there. Hey, look at this. We are now picking up localizer. So now we're picking up localizer. How about that? Okay, so at this point in time, ATC has just called and said, Descend and maintain this certain altitude. Direct gritty. Cleared for the ILS. Runway 04 right. Maintain 180 knots until doing. Usually they're going to give you something like that. So they want us to slow it down. So we're going to go to 180 on our speed. Once they said cleared for the ILS, you could go ahead and hit the ILS button. We still have glide slope fail, so maybe we should do VOR localizer first. We should do the localizer capture first. Is our speed coming down? It sure is. How about another notch of flaps? There goes another notch of flaps.
Stabilizer motion.
Betty is still with us. We still have glide slope fail, but we still have a localizer. And there's 180. I'm going to do another notch of flaps. Flap retraction schedule is over here. So 11, 15, 28 to 40. All you have to do is be below 195, and you can roll your flaps out to your heart's content. Okay, there's 3,000 feet. We got glide slope, and I've got localizer now. So localizer and glide slope, let's come on up here. And now we're going to get help from the ILS system. I just armed the ILS. You can see ILS is now in gold or amber or whatever it is. And now I'm also going to come over here and I'm going to do my last click of my map. There's gritty. ILS is armed at 180 knots like this. That's a good speed for capturing glide slope localizer, making your turn. And then at doing, we can go and do our final approach speed. Looks like we are going to still be at 135 knots. Now might also be an incredibly good time to do landing gear. There goes landing gear. There's gear down. There comes gritty. And we should do the approach checklist. Cabin signs are on. Fuel system is set. Altimeters and bugs are set. Approach checklist is done. We have a final approach checklist to do when we're on final approach. Here comes gritty. We're about half a mile from gritty. We should see the ILS start to move over, and it should capture that. Up there's its turn. Here comes the glide slope coming down. Localizer capture is good. Altitude hold is set. It did fly over a little bit, but it does do a pretty good job of flying us back. I'm going to go over here and put my heading bug just right on the little pink line for the moment. Here comes glide slope. We're getting ready to start our descent. I can see the airport. Life is good there. Gear is down, 3 green. Now this is where it starts to kind of fall apart a little bit as far as capturing glide slopes and everything. You can also see we've got the wind here and that 32. It's a gusty day in the neighborhood, so that's kind of why we're swinging a little bit more. And we are 3 miles from doing, then we can go and set our landing speed. Again, 135. I love to keep that up there just because... I forget. I'm going to go to the store later on today, and we've been doing some VATSIM events where I haven't been able to use my standard call sign, which is Flight 441, whether it's whatever airline. And I've had to do, United Flight 2263. And I'm having a really hard time remembering those. So I'm going to actually invest in Post-it notes and a Sharpie. And I will stick that somewhere that I can see it very, very clearly, which real pilots do. I've had real pilots get in chat over on Twitch and say, oh yeah, real pilots, we use Sharpies and Post-it notes for the flight number. Okay, we have captured glide slope and localizer. We are now 1 mile away from doing. Landing speed is going to be 135. I'm going to go ahead and sneak my speed down now. This airplane Really does like that. So 135. Speed's coming down. Yep, there's our speed. And let's do another notch of flaps. There goes flaps going down. Make sure that it's still on your glide slope and your localizer. Sometimes it will lose them. Flaps are now full. Yep, flaps are full. Now we can come down here and remember that little switch? Hey, so that's good. All right, that switch is good. Do we have speed brakes set? Speed brakes are armed. Yep, so final approach checklist. Landing gear is down, 3 green. Flaps and slaps are set. Speed brake is armed. Auto brakes are set. Ignition goes to both. So ignition to both. EOAP, I've got to learn that. Final approach checklist is complete. Now, as we're coming on in, this is about the point where I'm going to go ahead and become a bit of a control freak. So, autopilot is going to go off.
Autopilot.
Betty will yell at you a little bit, and then keep your eye on that prize. Now then, there is a reset button here. No, that's not it. To stop that flashing in front of you. Okay, we got low. You do have to over-control this airplane a lot more than other ones. Okay, look at your throttles. We're at about 120. Auto throttles are off. I've got the throttles.
Light slope. Light slope.
Yeah.
Light slope. Light slope. 300.
It is gusty here today. We're a little high.
Minimums.
I love that little sound too.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Reverse. Reversers are up. Whoa, boy, did we get busy. Okay, now I'm over where I belong. That was pretty sloppy. But that's this airplane, that's the way it is. Reversers are down. Auto brakes disarmed. Off the runway. And as you're coming to a halt, you have to, I did click my brakes, but you have to listen for a click. Otherwise, the auto brakes will bring you to a complete stop like they did to me. Landing lights off. Oh, I actually never turned them on. Clear the runway. And we know that they're going to take us off over here. Back we go. Speed brakes are still... Oh, speed brakes dropped themselves. I wonder if they actually deployed. Maybe they went off when I did the... auto brakes. I need to look for that. Now, you still got things flashing at you here. So if you want that, turn off the flight directors. And then it will... And it's still flashing at you. Okay. Well, I thought you could just turn off the flight directors and that took care of that. Let's see. Flaps. You need to bring up the flaps incrementally. After landing checklist. We got to finish it up. So flaps after landing is 15. So 15. Auto brake needs to go off. Speed brake lever is retract. Engine ignition selector off. Pitot and static heater system goes off. Anti-ice off. Ice switch off. Weather radar off. After landing checklist is done. As we're coming on in, I will come up here and do starter pump. I don't know if we need the starter pump, but it's at the master switch. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, starter switch on, then count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back to run, and that should take care of that. And then we go over here, make sure that we're set up here on the Navigraph map. And I'll tell you what, when you've got Navigraph, really use this for landing, for taxi, and especially on a VATSIM event. You're going to get so busy. Okay, the APU should be coming up. Let's see, we're also off the runway, so I needed to go and do strobes off too. All sorts of things to remember. And we should be coming up on Echo. And it even says Echo, so our gate is right over there. After Echo, we'll go straight in, and this should be our gate. So APU's coming on up. I'm sure the co-pilot is taking a look right now at our brake temperatures, because that's an important thing to do. Let's see, we should also stop squawking Terra. If you had weather radar on, turn the weather radar off before you get into the gates. And then now that we've cleared Echo, we are coming in at Echo. Our gate is this one off to the right. And we're going for 46. My guess is they don't want us to go over that because it would taxi over the sign. So we're going to have to do a jump to the left and a step to the right over here. Now my checklist said to leave the flaps at 15. This is the new KEWR scenery. I think this is the Dr. D KEWR scenery that you can get via the AnyBuild Scenery Manager, and I've got to tell you, this is incredible scenery. If you like going nosing around airports, this is a definite airport to go and check out. Okay, there's 46. That's our gate number. So as we come on over here, we'll do a gentle turn this way. People that do ground control say once you get into the ramp area and you've got your gate in sight, turn off those nose lights. You're blinding the ground crew. Okay, there's 46. The one thing that's kind of missing from Flight Sim, and somebody went and made some sort of a free gate guidance system. I wish more developers would use it. That's one of the things we're all going to need is gate guidance going in now. I haven't had a chance to use it yet. None of the airports that I go to have it. So I'll usually just go outside and guide myself in. That's probably pretty good. Well, let's see. I bet we could go a little bit further. That one's probably pretty good. So come on over here. Parking brakes. Parking brakes are on. I usually do my engine generators first on this airplane. So generators first. Then I'll come down here and do engine number 1, engine number 2. We still have flaps at 15. So I guess that's how we leave those. We're going to come here and to do APU air on so that we can keep the cabin ventilated. Seat belts can go off. We should also turn the emergency lights off and then slide on over here. And we're going to do anti-collision lights going off as well. So we've got those. We should stop squawking. So transponder to standby. And then we can come over and we can request a jetway through Pushback Helper. And here comes our really nice jetway. And it does automatically open your door as the jetway approaches. So there's our jetway. It'll put the canopy over us there too. And then we can come over here and do parking, fuel tank, pumps, switches as required. So I think I got, so we can go and everything is off over on the left side. We'll leave one of the fuel pumps on for the right side. Fuel system is set, auxiliary trans and hydraulic pumps off. So I probably should have had those. It did not tell me to put my flaps all the way up yet. So I don't know, but we've got those off. Parking brake is set and the parking checklist is good. So then we can come over here to aircraft and services. The forward main door is open and we can start unboarding the passengers. We can go to the ground tab. And over on ground, we can request a ground power unit and AC. And then it has already opened up my cargo. And so all of that's looking good. And that is about as close as we can get. Leaving the airplane, we would do emergency lights, the EFB off. APU is required, battery switch is required, and that would be the leaving the airplane checklist. And that is about as good as I can do this airplane. I've been flying this airplane for about 9 months now, on and off, in the simulated environment, and there is still so much to learn about this airplane, but I really do have so much fun learning about it. My landing rate was a minus 101. Holy moly, people that are watching people that are watching on YouTube from over on Twitch are saying, 101? Who is this person? Well, I will tell you that when you are flying and you're not live streaming, you generally get better landing rates. So 101, I will take a 101 any old day of the week. Hey, as always, when it comes to these YouTube videos that I'm doing, I'm making these videos primarily for people who are just getting into flight sim. So this is not about the right way versus the wrong way. This is merely what I found that works for me. I'm still really new here on YouTube, so leave your questions and your comments. I read them all and answer most of them, except for the really rude ones. And even them I will probably also answer. I will appreciate shares and follows and over here on YouTube. It's helping me grow that. Also want to invite you to come on over to Twitch on Tuesday and Sunday. 757 Spy is where you will find me over on Twitch, and hope that you like those as well. I do need to say a big thank you to some people here, and I've also just recently launched a Patreon. Special thank you to Secret Agents Richard, the first Secret Agent, Loviz, Tim Wells, Blazers in 2000, Andy Eagle, and T-Mark, the Secret Agents. The Special Agents are Brandon, Wolfies, 2 new Special Agents, Joff and Chris. Thank you for being Special Agents. There is 100, and that is B. Kaiser. There's a link in the description for Patreon. I put every day that I do a flight on Twitch, I always go and put a flight over on Patreon, so that that's going to basically be your pre-flight briefing. My name's Dave. Again, thank you for coming by my channel. If you are new, this is your first time, welcome. Thank you for checking me out. I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow on Twitch, tomorrow on Patreon. In the meantime, as always, I like to say, stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you in the friendly sim skies. Cheers.